Holy Trinity, it's really, really lovely to see you all here this morning, and to the visitors amongst us, and there are a few, I want to give a special welcome. Lovely to have you here as well. And we'll get to know you during the peace in the communion, where I'm going to ask people to share their names, addresses, and other personal information to each other. It's been a bit of a week for me. Thank you to everybody who has prayed for me as on Sunday. It was a special day because of your prayers, so thank you for that. This week has been one of the most complicated and stressful weeks I think I've ever known. We've had a wonderful project going on here in Holy Trinity, a long time coming. I know that many of you have been praying for over a year and a half for this to actually happen. Well, it happened. It happened this week. We have a new sound system, we have a new visual system, and we have some pews that are out. There were surprises, there were setbacks, there were gremlins in the system, and there were not a few problems that had to be overcome, not least a tower going all the way to the top, which is a seriously scary place to be, and the stonework crumbling as we put drills in. So we are here and we've got it done, but this actually isn't the finish of the project, because we've got a couple of things to think about. And I would appreciate your prayers and your feedback. As you can see, the pews have gone and we've been left with the staging. And the question is, do we keep the staging and carpet it and put an edging around so that people may see that it's not a trip hazard? Or do we reduce the staging to floor height, which will cost thousands of pounds in order to do? And I'm just not sure it's a good use of our funds to do that. So please think about that. We've also got to decide the sort of chair that we want. Now forget doctrine, forget do you believe in the Trinity, do you believe Jesus Christ is the Son of God? The choice of chair has the ability to sunder a church at the drop of a hat. Why is that? Well, because we all know the sort of chair that we like, and the sort of chair that's comfortable. So, you'll be glad to know that the vicar has decided not to run this project, so that you don't have to throw tomatoes at me. We can throw tomatoes at Carolyn Kenyon and her chair design team that are beginning to research all the different styles and types of chairs that we can have. You can have chairs with arms on that don't stack, chairs without arms that do stack, chairs that are solid but heavy and therefore unmovable, chairs with something on the back to put your book, your Bible in, or whatever, and they don't stack either. You can have chairs with legs, chairs with skids, you can have wooden chairs, crane chairs, you can have wood back chairs, or comfortable foam backed chairs with material. There are a lot of things to think about. I trust Carolyn and her team to come up with a short list. She will then show you us what it looks like, and at that point you can go in grace and love over my dead body. You can give us positive feedback and say, you are so inspired, Carolyn, at the choice of this chair. We love you. We will slowly introduce the technology over the weeks. This week we're just using the voices, and Sven is driving the desk, but also Grace is going to drive the desk as well. So we have two young adults, which our technology isn't hold of, because I haven't a clue what's going on, to be honest, but they will. And we're going to slowly just train them up and begin to use more and more of our technology as we all get used to it. I hope that's okay. So thank you for your prayers, and we got there, which is fantastic. Now, something really special to celebrate. A very special person of our church family has her birthday today. And so I give you, before we begin to worship God, Angie, whose birthday it is today. Happy birthday. So I'm going to hand over to Claire, who's going to lead our service. A woman has two sons who were born on the same hour, of the same day, of the same year, but they are not twins. No shouting out. How is that possible? Puzzles. When the penny drops, it's obvious. When we get it, we say, of course, how could I not have seen that? A woman has two sons who were born to her on the same hour, the same day, the same year, but they're not twins. How can this be? Sometimes I can stare at a puzzle for hours and hours and think, I don't get this. I am clearly missing something. Jesus is God, And his mission is to come to the earth to die. And he's told his disciples this is his mission 3 times in the last 3 chapters. And they don't get it. He keeps on telling them, and they keep missing it. Mark chapter 10, verse 32, we read, they were on their way to Jerusalem with Jesus leading the way. And again, he took the 12 aside and told them what was going to happen to him. Jesus is halfway through his ministry now. And he's trying to get his disciples to understand why he has come. And he gives us the answer in verse 45. To give his life as a ransom for many. And they don't get it. My mission, he says, is to give my life as a ransom for many. Do you see that little word for? A ransom for many? It's the little Greek word anti. It means instead of, in place of, a substitute for. So we understand substitutes, of course we do. We see it in sport all the time. We see it when we order online in Tesco's. I order a cabbage, they substitute it for lettuce. I order a packet of McVitie's, they substitute it for dog biscuits. Substitutes, in place of. Jesus is our ransom substitute for many. What does ransom mean? We get this. Ransom is buying freedom for a prisoner. Jesus' mission is to substitute himself to buy our freedom. Freedom from guilt, freedom from hell, freedom to choose God, freedom to approach God, freedom to become his child, if that's what we wish, children of God. So this morning I want to just unpack this idea of ransom. And I want to see it as ransom as sacrificial love, ransom as proof of value, and ransom as giving a whole new purpose. And may the penny drop for all of us. 2 boys born of the same woman, on the same hour, the same day, the same year, they are not twins. Why? Because the woman also had a baby girl, and they are triplets. Easy when you know how. Ransom as sacrifice, as proof of value, as new purpose for living. Let's begin with ransom as sacrificial love. All love is sacrificial. All life-changing love is sacrificial. Take friendships. If we ever try to love somebody who is in trouble, who's, let's say, emotionally wounded, then it's going to cost us something. You can't love someone who is hurting without experiencing some of the pain yourself. They say a problem shared is a problem halved, and the reason is that when we share our troubles, we are giving some of the load to somebody else. When we listen to somebody, we give them, it costs us time and emotional empathy. We give them love, and that costs, and we willingly pay it. We feel their pain, we get their distress, we put ourselves in their shoes. In this sense, all sacrificial love is substitutionary. We pay a little to release somebody else from trouble. Or take parenting. The only way a parent is going to grow up to be a wonderful adult is as if their parent is willing to sacrifice the best part of 18 years to look after them. To be a parent is a willingness to sacrifice ourselves. We give up our freedom, our cash, our social life, our sleep, so that they might grow up secure, feeling loved and protected. We have to be willing to take the Weetabix bomb on our clothes the moment before we step out to work. We have to be willing to go through hell, reading Enid Blyton's wishing chair stories for the 45th time before they go to sleep. I have to tell you, I slipped a few pages very, very often. We have to be willing to pick them up from a party at midnight when actually we want to be in bed by 8:30. We have to sacrifice ourselves to pay for them growing up in love. We ransom, we pay, we substitute our freedom for theirs. Do you see? We see it in the best stories. In Harry Potter, Lily Potter puts herself between Lord Voldemort and Harry. When Voldemort tries to kill him, she dies in his place. And that one act of substitutionary love forms the inspirational arc for every single Potter book. All life-changing love is substitutionary and sacrificial. And of course we see it in justice. If someone wrongs me, then justice demands repayment. If they carelessly break something, intentionally break something precious to me, then they should repair it. If they steal something, then they should repay it. If they destroy my reputation, they should restore it. Justice requires it. They must make amends. And if they can't, and I still want a relationship with them, then I have to pay for that which was broken. I have to. I have to cover the loss of the stolen money. I have to. I have to bear the injustice of my reputation destroyed. I have to. Forgiveness means paying the price yourself. So in a world of brokenness, in a world full of hate and revenge and tit-for-tat and selfishness and inequality, in a world full of sin, large and small, God is a monster if he just says, let's forget it. God's so unjust if he says that there is no consequence to pay for evil. That would be unfair. Someone has to pay. Someone has to bear the injustice. Someone has to make up the sacrifice. Someone has to listen for the hurting and feel for the wounded and understand the brokenness. And there is no one in the world that can do that for the whole world except God. No one except God. So God as friend, God as parent, God as justice, pays the price, substitutes himself, ransoms himself in our place, because all substitutory love is sacrificial. Oh wow. Ransom, sacrificial love. Secondly, ransom, our value. Proof of it. James and John didn't understand the depth of God's love for them, because in the face of Jesus' words, they still hanker after status and value. No sooner does Jesus say, I'm going to die, than they come to him and ask for a favour. Great timing, guys. Teacher, they say, we want you to do whatever we ask. If any parent falls for this, it's a rookie error, okay? Jesus, I want you to promise me to say yes before I tell you what it is. Sure, like Jesus was born yesterday. Jesus replies, what do you want of me? And they say, verse 37, let one of us sit at your right hand and the other on your left hand in glory. In heaven after you've died, Jesus, I want to be your chief of staff and put my brother as prime minister. James and John looking for glory and status, and they've missed the point, haven't they? Jesus replies, you have no idea what you're asking. The penny hasn't dropped for you yet, has it? Can you drink the cup I drink? Can you be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with? You want a slice of my glory, boys? Well, God's love shines brightest when it's crucified. God's love is most potent when it's sacrificial. James and John, do you really want some of that? In a sense, every Christian wants some of that. For when we put the ransom of Jesus at the centre of our life, it means that we don't need to prove anything to anyone anymore. We don't need to seek prestige and glory and status, because we look at the cross and we see it there in spades. Anybody who ever looks at the cross and understands what's going on there, God, I am stabbed by your love. I am sorry for the cost of my sin. I am humbled by your ransom. I'm dumbfounded that you would do this for me. Ransom. Substitutionary, sacrificial love. Ransom. the proof of value. And then thirdly, ransom as giving us a new purpose. James and John reveal a fundamental error in their motives when they say to Jesus, "What can we get out of following you, Jesus? I fancy being chief of staff. He fancies being prime minister. What about it?" I don't blame them. Following Jesus would not have been without its attractions. Jesus healed the sick. He loved the poor. He commanded nature. He taught with insight and authority. He spoke into people's real needs. Following Jesus was not without its benefits. And almost everyone who begins to explore Christian faith starts out thinking, how will this benefit me? God, deal with my bad thoughts, please. God, help me put my marriage right. God, help me to move on. God, answer this need within me. But there comes a point when the penny drops, when the ransom becomes personal, and we respond actually in a completely different way. We understand that being a Christian, for what we get out of it, is just pretend Christianity. It doesn't work. Because at the first sign of trouble, at the first cost of real sacrifice, at the first tough or inconvenient or challenging piece of theology that challenges our lifestyle and our choices, when God doesn't deliver according to our timescales, we just stop. I tried it. It didn't work for me. I tried it, but I lost interest. I tried it, but those people in the church, that vicar, they are really challenging to get on with. We follow Christ not for our sake, but for his sake. Because love means we have the ability to grieve God's heart and to bring joy to God's heart. We have the ability to bless God. And if that isn't the most revolutionary thing you've heard in your lifestyle, I have no idea what is. The ransom, the self-substitution of God shows his love for us, and love is a two-way street. He holds us in his arms, he restores our value to us, he invites us into an embrace of love. And when the penny drops, we realize that we give him joy. We see his significance on the cross. We can be a blessing to him. So our purpose changes, our life changes, to love God for God's sake, to build his kingdom through our sacrifice, through love for others. And this changes us. We look at the cross and we say, because you did this for me, there is nothing that I will not do for you. Count Nicholas von Zinzendorf, great name. Nicholas von Zinzendorf was a German nobleman born the 26th of May, 1700 AD. He was born actually into great power and wealth, and he founded the Moravian Church. Through his life, he used his wealth to serve the needs of others, so that at the end, he was almost all spent out. Almost nothing left. Here's why. At 19, he found himself in in an art gallery in Dusseldorf. And he was gazing at Domenico Fetti's portrait of Jesus, wearing a crown of thorns. He looked at this painting for such a long time. He read the artist's inscription that we can still read. This I have done for you. Now what would you do for me? And the penny dropped. It changed his life. At 19, he said to Jesus, I will love you and serve you and live for you because you have loved me and served me and died for me. Do you see it? Do you see it? Do you see it? Has the penny dropped? Jesus said, whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will save it. Jesus said, whoever wants to be great must become a servant, and whoever wants to be first must become a slave. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve you, and to give his life as a ransom, as a substitute for you. Let's pray. such love, so abundant, so overwhelming, such cost, such personal, coming to us, giving to us, holding arms open on a cross for us, resurrection wanting to embrace us, that we might be children of God. Lord, our small heart responds to your great heart. If you have done this for me, I will live, lock, stock and barrel, body, mind, soul and heart, for you, and be a servant of all.